In a world that constantly pulls at our attention, tugs on our emotions, and tests our patience, there are three virtues that can anchor us through the chaos: wisdom, strength, and focus. These are not mere traits, they are disciplines. The Stoics understood that a well-lived life was not the result of luck or chance, but of rigorous internal training. Wisdom guided their decisions. Strength carried them through adversity. Focus kept them from being scattered by distractions. To be wise is to see clearly. To be strong is to endure with dignity. To be focused is to direct energy with purpose. These three pillars are not just ideals, they are daily practices. The Stoic does not wait for better circumstances, he cultivates better responses. In every moment, he is refining his perception, tempering his reactions, and sharpening his resolve. This is the lecture of a warrior of the mind, a student of virtue, a practitioner of presence. If you are ready to meet life with greater clarity, resilience, and discipline, then begin here. Let the path unfold. Chapter 1. Wisdom is sight beyond emotion. Wisdom is not merely intelligence. It is not an accumulation of facts or an academic title. Wisdom is the discipline of seeing things as they truly are, without distortion, without panic, without wishful thinking. It is clarity in the storm. The Stoics trained themselves to perceive the world without exaggeration. This is the essence of wisdom. Most suffering comes not from what happens, but from our interpretation of it. To be wise is to separate the event from the story. In daily life, this means slowing down your reactions, not out of fear or hesitation, but out of strength and deliberate control. When someone insults you, pause. Don't respond immediately. Consider whether their words actually carry any truth or relevance. Ask yourself, am I reacting to them or to an old wound they've poked? When plans fall apart, breathe. Don't catastrophize. Look at the fragments and ask, what remains under my control? When you're overwhelmed, stop. Step outside your own storm of thoughts and ask, what is truly happening right now? What do I know for certain? These small pauses become gateways to clarity. They are the spaces in which wisdom has room to enter. This pause breaks the cycle of automatic emotion and allows reason to step in. Like a dam holding back floodwaters, that short moment of reflection stops panic from becoming action. It allows you to examine not only your reaction, but the source of it. What belief is being challenged? What expectation was violated? Wisdom does not rush to fix, it first understands. Seneca reminded us, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. The mind, when untrained, becomes a factory of exaggerated fears and misplaced hopes. It is not inherently malicious, only undisciplined. Left to wander without guidance, it dramatizes pain, leaps to conclusions, and clings to assumptions as if they were truths. It crafts entire futures out of fragments, drawing worst-case scenarios from the thinnest evidence. A silence becomes rejection. A delay becomes disaster. A mistake becomes an identity. The imagined pain often outweighs the real one because the mind fears what it cannot fully predict, and so it prepares for every possible failure at the cost of peace. Wisdom is the antidote. It does not erase uncertainty, but it neutralizes distortion. It steadies the lens through which we view the world, removing the blur of fear and the fog of desire. Wisdom teaches us to pause, to observe, and to resist being swept away by the emotional tide. It anchors us in the present, grounds us in fact, and reminds us that how we think determines how we live. What we believe about an event becomes more powerful than the event itself. The narrative we tell ourselves shapes not only our feelings, but our fate. Our thoughts either build the prison or craft the key. Let wisdom be your first filter. Do not trust your first thought. Challenge it gently. Trace it back to its origin. Ask, where did this belief come from? What fear is it feeding? Is it clouded by my past or clarified by my principles? Question it, inspect it, refine it. Ask yourself, is this based on emotion or evidence? Would I give this thought to someone I love? The wise person does not allow a passing emotion to hijack a lifetime of intention. They hold the line against mental noise, not just once, but again and again, each time reaffirming their dedication to clarity over chaos. They understand that lasting peace is not a product of avoiding emotion, but of navigating it wisely. They cultivate a posture of steadiness, of neutrality, of listening more than reacting. Their responses are shaped by principle, not provocation. Because the mind is like a sword, useless if dull, dangerous if wielded blindly, but sharpened through reason, steadied by practice and handled with humility, it becomes the sharpest tool for a life of peace. A disciplined mind slices through illusion, discards exaggeration, and leaves only what is essential. Wisdom is not given, it is carved moment by moment through conscious thought and disciplined reflection. It is earned through restraint, through the courage to admit you don't know, through the strength to pause when the world rushes you, through the humility to ask, what am I missing? It is refined through difficult conversations, quiet observations, and long silences where the soul is allowed to speak. It grows with each act of self-control, each honest journal entry, each time you refuse to let ego lead. Every reflection, every moment of awareness adds another stroke to the sculpture. And over time, the carving becomes character. It becomes the quiet authority in your presence, the steadiness behind your words, the calm in your decisions. Let this be your pursuit, not perfection, but perception, not control, but clarity, not silence of thought, but sovereignty over it. Let your life reflect the work of that chisel, deliberate, thoughtful, and ever committed to inner excellence. Each morning, take 5 minutes to write down the most important truth you need to remember. Keep it visible throughout the day. When emotion flares, return to it. Let it center you. Chapter 2. Strength is quiet endurance. True strength is not loud. It does not boast. It does not need applause or validation to keep going. It is the quiet refusal to quit, the calm defiance of the storm. It is unseen persistence, the kind that does not flinch when the world turns its back. The strength the Stoics admired was not the roar of victory, but the dignity of endurance, the ability to keep your footing when everything around you urges collapse. Epictetus was born a slave, crippled, powerless by every worldly measure, but his mind was free, his thoughts were his own. He was chained on the outside, yet unshackled within. His dignity could not be touched, his integrity could not be sold, and his clarity could not be bought. His strength lay in his refusal to surrender that inner freedom, even when every external condition pressed him to do so. "No man is free who is not master of himself," he said. That statement is not just a philosophical claim, it is a challenge. A challenge to every person who believes that their circumstances define them, that their suffering disqualifies them, or that their worth is determined by what they can control externally. This is the root of Stoic strength: mastery over impulse, over fear, over despair. The world may bind your limbs, but only you can bind your will. Power is not what others give you, it's what you refuse to give away. Not to anger, not to weakness, not to indulgence. That is sovereignty in its purest form. In the grind of daily life, strength reveals itself not in heroic moments, but in repetition. Not in the rare spotlight, but in the daily shadows. In doing what is right, again and again, even when no one sees, no one praises, and no one understands. Strength is choosing discipline when motivation dies and inspiration is absent. It's rising after failure, not with fanfare, but with resolve. It's showing up after disappointment, after rejection, after being overlooked or misunderstood, and still doing the work. It's choosing to face the difficult task with the same energy you would give to an exciting one. It's refusing to negotiate with your principles when fatigue tempts you to rest, when pressure invites you to yield, when shortcuts whisper promises of ease. The Stoic knows that strength is not in getting through something once, but in living with unrelenting purpose when ease is absent and effort is everything. Modern life tests us in quieter, subtler ways. It does not always come with a battlefield or an enemy you can name. Often, the enemy is time, the delay of a dream, the erosion of enthusiasm, the disappointment of a goal not reached, not yet, and perhaps not ever in the form you imagined. The slow weight of anxiety that presses without sound, the invisible toll of monotony, the grind of duties that feel unnoticed and unappreciated, the numbness of routine, the ache of showing up to work, to life, to responsibilities without reward, the silence of unrewarded effort. And still, strength says, keep going, keep showing up. Not because you feel like it, but because it's who you are. Because values aren't real until they're lived. Because every act of persistence is a silent declaration. I will not be broken. You are not just passing time, you are sculpting character. Your effort is not wasted. It is building something no one can take from you. It is reinforcing your identity. It is engraving your values into your character. It is the architecture of the unshakable self. True strength is not about how much you can lift, but how long you can carry what must be carried without losing your posture, your composure, your direction. It's about bearing weight with grace, not aggression. It is not brute force, but inner stability. The kind of strength that endures not just difficulty, but monotony. Not just pressure, but patience. And not just loss, but the long waiting that follows. The kind that teaches you endurance is a form of wisdom. This is the Stoic path. Strength not as noise, but as a steady presence. A fire that does not flare but never goes out. A will that doesn't demand attention but never yields. This is the strength that builds legacies, not by shouting, but by surviving. Not by dominating, but by withstanding. Let that be your reminder. Your greatest strength will not always be seen in a single moment of triumph, but in the quiet collection of days you chose to keep going. Where others gave up, you stayed. Where others lost hope, you planted your feet. Where others broke, you bent, but you did not snap. That is the Stoic signature. That is the kind of strength that changes a life and, by its example, strengthens others too. When you want to quit, tell yourself, 1 more hour, 1 more step, 1 more day. Speak it aloud if you must. Repeat it like a sacred mantra. When the burden grows heavy and doubt begins to whisper its tired script, remind yourself that progress is not about speed. It is about momentum. You do not need to climb the entire mountain today. You only need to place 1 more foot forward. Breathe, reset, and take the next small action. Whether it's 10 minutes of honest effort or the courage to stand back up after a setback, these small acts build into something formidable. Strength is not a sprint. It is the slow march forward, even when your legs shake and your mind protests. Break the mountain into stones you can carry. Reduce the impossible to the immediate. Ask yourself, what is the next right thing I can do? And then do it. This is how strength is built. In motion, in commitment, in the humble willingness to keep going when comfort calls you to stop. Keep your eyes on the summit, but your hands on the step in front of you. Each small movement is a declaration of your resolve. Let the world see your grit, not in your victories, but in your endurance. You are not done. You are just getting stronger. Chapter 3. Focus is the art of elimination. Distraction is the enemy of greatness. And in the modern world, distraction is not just common, it is constant. It arrives in your pocket, on your wrist, through your screens, in every moment that begs for your presence but competes with 10 other things. Notifications ring with urgency, but rarely with importance. Noise replaces stillness. Speed replaces depth. And we begin to live like we are always late to something, always missing something, never quite here. To live well, the Stoics taught, is to know what to ignore. It is not just about turning off a phone. It is about tuning out the noise of comparison, of fear, of what others demand of your attention but do not deserve. It is to reclaim your awareness as the most sacred territory you have. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This is not morbidity, it is clarity. It is the fire that burns away the trivial. It sharpens your aim. It forces the question, if this were my last day, is this what I would focus on? Would I waste my mind on irritation, on scrolling, on proving my worth to people who never earned access to it? Focus is not just about productivity, it's about presence. It's about giving the current moment the full weight of your awareness. When you eat, just eat. Taste the moment. Don't scroll, don't rush. Don't let your body be in one place while your mind is in another. When you speak, mean your words. Don't dilute them to please or to fill silence. Speak with purpose. When you work, work with your whole self. Don't multitask your life into mediocrity. Attention is devotion, and what you devote yourself to, moment by moment, becomes your reality. The mind cannot be everywhere and be effective anywhere. A split mind leads to a fragmented life, but a concentrated mind, anchored in purpose, creates meaning wherever it turns. Even ordinary moments can become extraordinary when met with full awareness. The Stoic trains himself to eliminate the non-essential, not by accident, but by design. This is an act of discipline, of filtering out noise so that clarity can rise. He audits his time like a craftsman inspects his tools. He knows a single dull blade can ruin the work. He discards what dulls his sharpness, pointless conversations, unearned obligations, empty rituals. He says no without guilt, because he has already said yes to something higher, his mission, his values, his peace. He chooses one clear target and pours himself into it with clarity and conviction. This is not selfishness. It is stewardship. It is mastery over the most limited and precious resource we have: attention. Because when your attention is scattered, your energy is diluted, and when your energy is diluted, your life becomes a haze of half-efforts and unfulfilled intentions. But when your attention is focused, your life becomes powerful, precise, and deeply lived. You do not need to do more. You need to do fewer things with greater intensity, deeper attention, and unwavering presence. Modern life will try to convince you that your value is measured in the number of boxes you check, the speed at which you reply, the volume of tasks you attempt to juggle. But the Stoic knows better. The Stoic knows that meaning is not found in volume, but in value. It is not how much you do, it is how fully you do it. One decision at a time, one task at a time, one breath at a time. Let every action be an act of intention, not habit. Let each task be touched by focus, not diluted by hurry. The scattered man looks productive, but he is lost. The focused man appears slower, but he is moving forward with precision. Focus is the art of living from your center, not your chaos. This is how you reclaim your life. Not with more hours, but with better hours. Hours that feel deliberate. Hours where you are fully there. Hours that feel like they added something to your soul, not just your schedule. Not by sprinting through your days, but by walking with purpose. Not by doing everything, but by doing the right things. Not by saying yes to everyone, but by saying yes to what aligns with your values. Focus does not require perfect conditions. It requires deliberate choices made in imperfect conditions. It demands discipline, intention, and courage. The courage to say no, the discipline to stay the course, the intention to choose the path that serves your highest good. It demands that you resist the temptation of the urgent in favor of the important. The world will always hand you distractions dressed in urgency. But ask yourself, will this matter tomorrow? Will it matter a year from now? Will this elevate me or just exhaust me? Let your life be the result of intentional choices, not unfiltered inputs. Audit your inputs, filter your information, clarify your priorities, align your schedule with your soul, guard your focus like a warrior guards a flame. That flame is fragile, and the winds of the world will try to extinguish it. Fan it with purpose, feed it with silence, protect it from distraction and shallow pursuits. Nurture it with clarity, and remember, what you give your attention to, you give your life to. Your attention is your most sacred resource. Spend it with care, choose wisely, and choose with pride. At the start of each day, think carefully and deliberately about your single most important task, the one thing that, if completed, would make the day meaningful. Don't just write it down as a routine. Reflect on why it matters, how it aligns with your values, and what long-term purpose it serves. Let that clarity sharpen your focus. Make a commitment. That task is your anchor. Do not move on until it is finished. Resist the pull of smaller, easier tasks that promise a false sense of accomplishment. Let the important overshadow the urgent. Let excellence replace the illusion of being busy. In completing that task, pour your full energy into it. Eliminate interruptions. Treat it like a sacred obligation. Protect your energy like it's gold, because it is. Once spent, it cannot be reclaimed. Allocate it with reverence. Your energy is not infinite, it is precious, and where it flows determines what grows. Don't spend it proving things to people who are not part of your mission. Don't waste it reacting to noise. Invest it where your purpose lives. Let the morning be your temple of intention. Let your first action be a reflection of your deepest aim. When you master the start of your day, you shape the course of your entire life. Chapter 4. The wisdom to respond, not react. Emotional reactivity is weakness disguised as urgency. It is the illusion that speed equals strength, that a fast reply is more powerful than a measured one. But the Stoic knows that power lies not in reaction, but in restraint. The Stoic trains himself to respond, not with impulse, but with wisdom. When provoked, he does not lash out, he pauses. When praised, he does not inflate, he remains grounded. When criticized, he listens with discernment, taking only what is true and discarding the rest. The gap between stimulus and response is sacred. It is the space where character is revealed. In that space lies the opportunity to break a cycle, to change the tone of an interaction, to rise above instead of sink into the same chaos. It is the invisible breath between provocation and power. That pause, small as it is, contains the seed of transformation. The modern world rewards speed, but wisdom rewards precision. The world says, react now. The Stoic asks, is this worth it? Do not let urgency rob you of intention. Do not mistake movement for progress or volume for clarity. True maturity is measured in the ability to stop, to think, to choose deliberately. The Stoic resists the temptation to speak too quickly, act too rashly, or decide too emotionally. He is not void of emotion, but he has taught his emotions to wait. In every moment of tension, there is a window to elevate, not escalate. That window is where freedom lives. When someone disrespects you, remember, their behavior is theirs. Their immaturity is not your responsibility. Your reaction is yours, and it is your greatest power. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to internalize what was never rooted in truth. The Stoic does not give his peace away for free. He does not grant control of his mood to strangers or let a careless word dictate his state of mind. He acts from principle, not provocation. He remembers that the fire he feeds is the one that grows, so he feeds composure. He meets insult with indifference, not because he is weak, but because he knows that self-respect does not flinch at every bark. He understands that not every situation requires a response, and not every voice deserves an echo. To respond with wisdom is not passivity, it is power under control. It is the warrior's discipline, the sage's poise. A lion does not roar at flies. A wise man does not argue with fools, because he knows the cost of dignity is too high to spend on every critic. He guards his energy as fiercely as he guards his thoughts. He sees clearly, speaks calmly, and walks away when it is right to do so. He does not chase validation. He does not dance for applause. He chooses his response like a sculptor chooses where to chisel, knowing each act is shaping the final form of his character. He knows that every reaction is a vote for the kind of person he is becoming. To hold your ground in silence can be louder than 1,000 words. To step back from chaos is to move forward in peace. This is not escape, it is elevation. It is mastery. The one who masters response masters his life, and in doing so, commands his destiny with clarity and calm. Create a pause ritual for moments of tension. Breathe. Count to 3. Ask yourself, what would my highest self do here? Then act. Never speak from the first wave of emotion. That first wave is a storm, loud, forceful, and often blind. It surges with defensiveness, ego, fear, or frustration. If you let it speak for you, it will often say something you later regret. Instead, let it pass. Give yourself the dignity of silence, even for a few moments. Let your words be forged in clarity, not chaos. Breathe deeply, step back from the heat. Feel the emotion fully, but do not act from it. Emotion is a signal, not a compass. Wait until your inner waters are still, then choose your words like a sculptor chiseling truth from stone. In this pause lies your power. In restraint, you reclaim your freedom. Chapter 5. Strength through adversity. Adversity is not the enemy. It is the gym of the soul. It is the field where real strength is cultivated, not the imagined strength of comfort or convenience, but the hard-earned kind that comes from enduring. The Stoics believed that hardship was not to be avoided, but embraced, for it reveals what comfort hides. Adversity reveals your values, your priorities, your resilience. It shows you who you really are beneath the surface. Character is not built in ease, but in effort. Ease can make us complacent. Effort makes us conscious. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." The Stoic understands this on a visceral level. Every challenge is an invitation to train. It is not something to curse, but something to confront. Not every pain is punishment. Not every setback is sabotage. Some difficulties are placed in our path not to stop us, but to shape us. The obstacle is not always in the way. It may be the way itself. The Stoic learns to see struggle as a sharpening stone, grinding away the excess, revealing the core, honing what is essential. Life will test you. It will test your patience, your values, your grit. It will not warn you before it does. It will shake the very foundations you thought were stable, and ask you to keep walking while the ground beneath shifts. Health may falter, sometimes when you need it most, reminding you how fragile strength can feel. Dreams may take longer than expected, or never arrive in the form you imagined. What you worked for might not look like what you envisioned. It may come smaller, quieter, or later than you thought. Plans may unravel in your hands just when you thought they were secure. The timing will seem unfair. The path will feel unclear. You may question if you ever knew where you were going in the first place. People you trust may disappoint you, not out of malice, but out of their own limitations, their own fears, their own wounds. Expectations may collapse, certainties may blur, the future may become a fog, and even your strengths may seem to falter under the pressure. But none of this can touch your power to respond. That is yours, always. It is the light you carry when all other lights dim. Unshakable, untouchable. Your response is your fortress. Your perspective is your compass. Your outlook is your weapon. Your attitude is your armor. In the darkest moment, you still have a say. You still have a will. You still have choice. And in that choice lies your power to rise, to reset, to press on. That is where victory begins, when everything outside feels broken, but you refuse to break inside. The strong man does not ask for lighter burdens. He builds stronger shoulders. He accepts the weight not as a curse, but as the curriculum of his calling. He learns from the strain. He grows inside the pressure. He trains in the weight. He doesn't seek to be rescued from the storm. He becomes the one who learns how to walk through it. He doesn't wish it away. He studies its winds, walks into it, and adapts. He does not complain about the fire. He uses it to forge something eternal within himself. His scars are not signs of defeat, but symbols of survival, proof that he was tested and chose to keep standing. He understands that hardship is a rite of passage for anyone who seeks to be unbreakable. That strength must be tested to be trusted. That power without pain is hollow. Pain becomes fuel. Delay becomes discipline. Discomfort becomes data. Frustration becomes formation. Every storm becomes a study in patience. Every defeat becomes an education in grit. Every closed door becomes a redirection to deeper truth. He is not fearless, but he refuses to be ruled by fear. And that is the difference. He meets hardship not with despair, but with determination. Not with panic, but with poise. Not with rage, but with resolve. He knows that adversity, when faced with dignity, becomes the foundation of greatness. He understands that challenge is not punishment, it is preparation. And in rising through it, he becomes a beacon for others. Not because life was easy, but because he remained unshaken. Not because he avoided the fire, but because he walked through it and emerged refined, not ruined. He did not survive to boast, he endured to guide. When adversity hits, ask, "What is this here to teach me?" Write down the lesson, carry it forward, make it part of your story, not as a scar that defines you, but as a lesson that refines you. Let the pain shape your perspective, not shrink your purpose. Let every hardship become a tool in your hands, a deeper knowing in your heart. Take what hurt you and turn it into insight. Turn the closed doors into redirection, the betrayals into boundaries, the delays into deeper preparation. Let no suffering be wasted, not an ounce, not a moment. If you must suffer, let it be fuel. Let it teach you resilience, patience, and wisdom. Use it to rise more focused, to love more wisely, to speak more clearly, and to live more fully. Let it temper your character, like fire tempers steel. Make it count, make it sacred. Let it build the strength no comfort ever could. Chapter 6. Clarity over complexity. The Stoic does not seek complexity for its own sake. He does not use fancy words to mask shallow thought. He does not chase convoluted strategies when simple truth will suffice. To be wise is to distill, to clarify, to cut away what is noisy and leave what is necessary. Clarity is not born from excess. It is carved out by removal. Simplicity is not the enemy of depth. It is the expression of it. Complexity often disguises confusion, but simplicity, when intentional, reveals mastery. In daily life, clarity allows you to act with confidence. It removes hesitation. It reduces doubt. You know your aim. You know your values. And that knowledge guides your decisions like a compass in the fog. When others scramble, you stand. When others stall, you move. When others fear making the wrong choice, you make the right one, the one that aligns with your character. Because when you see clearly, fear diminishes. You understand that the fog outside cannot affect the fire within. You stop wasting time on distractions. You stop seeking validation. You act from a center that is focused and firm. But clarity does not arrive by accident. It must be earned. It comes from silence, from solitude, from slowing down. You must ask the hard questions. What do I truly value? What am I willing to sacrifice? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? What is worth my time, my energy, my limited life? This kind of reflection does not make life easier, but it makes your direction unshakable. It sharpens your purpose like a blade and gives you the courage to cut away anything that blurs it. Most people wander not because they lack energy, but because they lack clarity. They are propelled by motion, but aimless in direction. They are driven by vague hopes, undefined goals, and borrowed desires, dreams that are not truly theirs, ambitions inherited from culture or comparison. They chase what others chase, assuming value without questioning purpose. They measure their worth by external standards, followers, money, approval, and end up exhausted without ever feeling fulfilled. But the Stoic returns inward. He knows that the most dangerous detour is the one paved with distractions disguised as ambition. He clears the fog not by adding more, but by removing what distracts. He clarifies by simplifying. He trims the excess. He silences the noise. He disconnects from the crowd to reconnect with his core. He defines success on his own terms, and then aligns every action toward it with discipline. Because when you know where you're going, you don't get lost trying to impress those who are lost themselves. You walk your path with purpose, even if it's lonely, even if it's misunderstood. In a cluttered world, clarity is rebellion. It is strength. It is self-respect. It is the bold declaration that your mind will not be dictated by noise. Your path will not be hijacked by trends. Your time will not be surrendered to trivialities. It is choosing vision over validation. It is choosing your priorities over people-pleasing. Let your words be simple. Let your goals be specific. Let your vision be sharp. Let your discipline be anchored. Let your life become a reflection of inner order, not external chaos. And when you feel confused, when life becomes loud, return to the question, what truly matters? What can I subtract to see it more clearly? Strip everything else away. Let the unnecessary fall. Let the trivial fade. That is the work of a Stoic. That is the art of clarity. It is not a single act, but a daily practice. A quiet war against confusion. A courageous act of self-alignment in a distracted world. At the end of each day, ask, did my actions match my values? Write one thing you did that aligned, and one thing that didn't. Clarity sharpens through awareness. Chapter 7. The Discipline of Stillness. Stillness is not inactivity. It is intensity without frenzy. It is focused presence. It is movement with awareness, energy without waste. The Stoic is not seduced by constant motion. He does not mistake movement for progress. A Stoic understands that a racing mind is not a productive mind. That noise is not wisdom. That urgency often masks avoidance. It is easy to confuse activity with impact. It is harder, but wiser, to pause and ask, is this action necessary? Is it aligned? Stillness is where truth speaks. It is the pause where you meet yourself without distraction. It is the space in which impulse is interrupted and intention is restored. Stillness is not just about quiet environments. It is about quiet within. It's where the heart recalibrates and the mind defogs. Most people avoid stillness because it reveals what they have been running from: fear, regret, doubt, discomfort. But the Stoic seeks it out, knowing that anything worth confronting must first be faced within. A Stoic practices the discipline of retreat, not to escape, but to return sharper. to return with eyes clearer and judgment less reactive. A few minutes of silence, a slow walk with no phone, a journal entry written in the early hours of the day, deep breathing before responding. These are not luxuries, they are tools for clarity. They are rituals of reset. The world will pull you in 1,000 directions. It will demand that you rush, react, respond, but stillness brings you home, to your values, to your focus, to your sovereignty. Stillness allows you to hear your conscience over the crowd, to feel your purpose over pressure, to re-enter the world not as a reaction, but as a force. When you live without stillness, your life becomes a reaction, unconscious, frenetic, easily steered by others. But when you create stillness, your life becomes a statement, a declaration of self-mastery, a practice of strength. It is in stillness that you build the discipline to see before you speak, to pause before you push, to rest before you rupture. And in doing so, you do not lose time, you redeem it. Schedule a daily moment of silence, 5 minutes minimum. No screens, no inputs, just breath, awareness, and presence. Let your soul catch up to your body. Chapter 8. Resolve in the face of chaos. Chaos is inevitable. Life will not unfold according to your preferences. Expectations will shatter. Outcomes will diverge from plans. Things will break. People will betray. Systems will fail. Plans will dissolve without explanation. And in the middle of that storm, when the world tilts and spins, you must remember, control is not the goal. Composure is. The goal is not to tame the chaos, but to remain unmoved by it. It's not about stopping the storm. It's about becoming the kind of person who can walk through it with steady steps. The Stoic does not expect peace from the world. They create peace within. They do not demand stillness from the external. They build stillness internally, shaping it through intention and anchored values. They do not beg the external to cooperate. They prepare the internal to respond with wisdom. They do not wish away the storm. They train their footing in advance. When chaos arrives, they breathe slower, not faster. They think clearer, not louder. They bring calm to the noise and anchor themselves in principle. They turn inward when the world turns unstable. They refuse to let the world dictate the quality of their character. They don't surrender their identity to circumstance. They choose how they show up, regardless of what shows up around them. In every disruption, they return to the root. What do I stand for? What do I control? What is worthy of my attention? Chaos is not an invitation to collapse. It is an opportunity to reveal your discipline. It is not a signal to panic, but a reminder to practice everything you've trained for. It is a proving ground. Let your actions remain steady even when the world shakes. Let your voice stay calm even when others shout. Let your heart remain firm when your surroundings lose their shape. Let your posture be unshaken when others stumble. Let your breath slow, your eyes stay clear, your principles remain unmoved. Let your values stay firm even when circumstances shift. That is resolve, not the absence of discomfort, but the refusal to surrender to it. That is the presence of someone who has trained not just for comfort, but for chaos. Someone who has learned to carry his peace with him no matter where he walks, because it lives inside him, not in what surrounds him. Peace is not given, it is constructed, defended, maintained, and when it becomes your foundation, it cannot be shaken by anything external. Resolve does not mean ignoring reality. It means engaging it without losing your center. It is not detachment. It is control. It is the strength to remain open without being consumed. It is the art of participation without loss of presence. It means standing firm in the middle of uncertainty and choosing clarity over panic. It means letting difficulty make you deeper, not harder, more focused, not more frantic. It is not numbness, it is groundedness. It is the quiet certainty that no external event can dictate your internal worth. It is knowing who you are so completely that chaos becomes a mirror, not a threat. It reflects the strength you've spent years forging in silence. You see yourself in crisis, not as a victim, but as a craftsman shaping strength from adversity. You test your training in fire, and instead of breaking, you reveal the strength you've been building all along. You discover you are more resilient than you feared, more prepared than you believed, more stable than the storm around you. You become someone others look to, not because you are louder, but because you are quieter, clearer, and unshaken. That is what Stoicism prepares you for, not a life without storms, but a life where no storm owns you, where even in the darkest hour you remain the master of your response and the architect of your endurance, steady as a stone in a river of noise. When everything feels out of control, anchor yourself in one powerful truth. I am not what happens, I am how I respond. Repeat it until it becomes instinct. Chapter 9. Excellence in the ordinary. You do not need a stage to be great. You do not need applause to act with integrity. You do not need lights, cameras, or validation to commit to high standards. The Stoic understands that true excellence is revealed not in grand gestures, but in small, consistent acts. Acts performed without an audience, without a reward, and without recognition. It is in how you wake up, with or without purpose, with intention or distraction, that the course of your day begins to form. It is in how you move through the silence of morning, how you speak to others when they can offer you nothing, when they cannot help your cause, applaud your name, or improve your standing. It is in how you carry yourself when no one is watching, when the spotlight is off, when applause cannot be earned, and there is no external proof that you even tried. That is where your true standard is tested. That is where integrity is revealed. That is where the foundation of character is either reinforced or allowed to erode. That is where excellence is born, not in noise, but in quiet, not in ceremony, but in the ordinary. Greatness is not some occasional act of brilliance. It is a consistent, disciplined way of living. It is not something you achieve once and display like a trophy. It is something you recommit to every hour of every day. Greatness is not a performance. It is a practice. It does not announce itself. It is not glamorized or always recognized. It is a private vow to live by a higher code. It is not a single moment. It is a repeated choice. It is found in the habit of excellence. In doing things well, not for credit, not for praise, not for outcome, but because doing them well is who you've chosen to be. Because you are accountable to your own conscience. Because the person you must live with each night is yourself. Your standard is not set by praise. It is not set by ease. It is set by conscience and conviction. It's in how you write an email, how you sweep the floor, how you speak with grace when no one expects it, how you sit with discipline when everyone else chooses distraction. The Stoics' version of excellence is different from the world's. It is internal, it is silent, it is consistent, it is not reactive to reward or attention. It is born of inner alignment, not outer gain. He does not ask, will this impress? He asks, "Is this right?" He does not measure value by applause. He does not bend to every change in opinion. He does not wait for recognition before he gives effort. He does not require a reason to act with integrity. His motivation does not come from hype or fear. It comes from his values. He rises each morning not needing to be inspired, but determined to do what is necessary. He whispers a vow to himself, "I will not waste this day. I will not do this halfway. I will not let comfort dull my commitment. I will not let mood erode my standards. I will not wait until I feel like it. I will do it because it is right, even when it's hard, even when it's tedious, even when no one sees, even when there's no reward. Because what I repeatedly do, I become. My life is shaped not by my intentions, but by my patterns. When you treat the small with seriousness, the big takes care of itself. It is not just in doing the task, but in how you do it, whether you meet it with your full attention or distracted haste, whether you bring care or carelessness. When you approach the unnoticed with reverence, with full engagement, you train your soul for greatness in the spaces where greatness often goes unnoticed. When you bring deep presence to the mundane, to the act of folding clothes, answering a message, cleaning a surface, you cultivate a mind that does not require thrill to be attentive. You forge within yourself the capacity to focus even when there is no excitement, no novelty, no external payoff. And that kind of focus, practiced daily, becomes your superpower. When you hold a high standard in secret, when you act with discipline in the dark, your strength becomes visible without effort. It radiates through your posture, through your decision-making, through your consistency. You build something unshakable, something that does not rely on praise to persist, that does not crumble in silence. Excellence begins not in ambition, but in action, not in goals set for the future, but in how you move through the ordinary routines of now, in the quiet room where no one's watching, in the repetitive work that others rush through, in the invisible tasks that carry no glamour. That is the forge of true character. Let excellence pour into every movement, not just the ones you plan for, but the ones that seem too small to matter. Let it refine how you speak to strangers, how you hold the door open, how you listen without interrupting. Let it sharpen how you move through your day, how you think, how you write, how you lead, how you follow. Let it shape how you sit, how you breathe, how you return to your work after a setback. Excellence is not the peak of a mountain. It is every step up the slope. It is not a finish line. It is how you tie your shoes before you begin the race. It is not something you will find later. It is something you choose now, and then now again, and then again. Do not wait for the world to recognize your effort before you begin to act with excellence. Do not wait for big opportunities to train your discipline. Excellence is a habit built quietly, repetitively, and internally. It does not shout. It does not demand attention. But over time, it becomes unmistakable. Because a life lived with attention and care, with seriousness and sincerity, even in the smallest actions, accumulates into a force that cannot be ignored. Choose one ordinary task today: washing dishes, replying to emails, tidying a space, organizing a drawer, preparing a meal, folding laundry, writing a thank you message, and do it with absolute excellence. Approach it not as a chore, but as a sacred ritual. Be deliberate in your movements, present in your attention, complete in your intention. Let no detail escape your awareness. Focus as though this small act is a reflection of who you are, because it is. Let your attention be total, uninterrupted, purposeful. Feel the weight of your responsibility in the lightest of tasks. Let excellence pour into your actions as though each one writes a line of your character. Attention is where greatness begins. It is the flame that lights consistency. And repetition is where it is forged into habit, shaped into strength, and made unshakable through time and effort. By choosing to be excellent in the ordinary, you prepare to be exceptional in the extraordinary. Let today be your training ground. Let this moment be your proof. Chapter 10. The Unshakable Self. Everything you've endured, every hardship you've overcome, every painful lesson you've internalized, every small, unseen act of discipline, it all leads here. It has all been shaping one singular goal: to become immovable, to build the unshakable self. The Stoic does not seek to bend the world to his will. He does not demand perfect conditions. He trains to stand tall amidst the imperfect. He seeks to become rooted, firm, principled, untouched by the winds of fortune or the fire of adversity. His confidence is not the brittle arrogance that shatters under pressure. It is quiet alignment with his deepest values. His peace is not the product of ignorance. It is the fruit of rigorous internal discipline. His focus is not cold detachment. It is a sacred devotion to what truly matters. He is not perfect, nor does he pretend to be. He is practiced, forged in fire, shaped through the cycles of failure and return. He has stumbled, yes, but each fall refined him. Each failure was met with reflection, not regret. Each falter became the foundation of a firmer stance, and each return was not to the same level, but to a higher one. The unshakable self is not born from comfort or applause. It is carved in the hidden hours, in the long nights of solitude, in the daily battle to align action with virtue. It is built from clarity, clarity of who you are, what you stand for, and what you will no longer compromise. From repetition, deliberate repetition of values over feelings, of right action over easy distraction. From restraint, the quiet strength to hold the line when temptations roar. It is shaped in the thousand silent decisions you make when no one is watching, in the integrity you practice when shortcuts would be easier, in the questions you dare to ask yourself when excuses whisper safety. You do not become unshakable by avoiding suffering. You become unshakable by walking through it and choosing not to abandon yourself in the fire. You become steady not by controlling every circumstance, but by controlling your posture within any circumstance. You become resilient not by being invincible, but by refusing to surrender your values in moments of vulnerability. The unshakable self is not unfeeling, it is deeply feeling, but guided by truth. It is not indifferent, it is intentional. It is not detached, it is deeply engaged with life, but never enslaved by it. This is not a finish line. This is your ongoing practice. This is your sacred path. You return to it each morning and recommit each evening. You show up not because it's easy, but because it is right. You show up not to impress, but to be who you are. Be wise in thought. Be strong in adversity. Be focused in purpose. And let the chaos of the world come as it will. Your anchor is set. You are ready. You have been becoming this all along. Every evening ask, did I act like the person I'm becoming? Let that question shape tomorrow. Let it remind you, you are not just living, you are building.